Well, fishing on a lot of our waters has gotten much harder, much more difficult. The amount of pressure out there, and I should say pressure from well-educated anglers, is probably higher than it ever has been in the history of the sport. So finding fish, getting fish to reveal themselves can definitely be a challenge on a lot of days, especially if your time is relegated to weekends only. Well, this system definitely finds fish. I use it all the time, and it is something that you just don't see a lot of people doing. While most anglers know about square bills, right? We all know about the square bills, the 1.5s, the 2.5s, they catch a ton of bass. But when it comes to finding bass in highly pressured situations, downsize those square bills to some of the smallest ones that you can find. It's no different than when we fish traditional finesse lures and presentations. You know, a Ned rig is a great example. We downsize that soft plastic. Well, you're doing the same thing with your square bill, and you're presenting an opportunity for that bass, and bass of all sizes, to really find a meal that's probably, they're thinking, well, it's probably not going to escape. You know, it's just this tiny little morsel here, and they just hit these small lures. And the key part to this is you still have to burn it and use a start, stop, retrieve, that erratic motion. When you take a look at it under the water here, you can see how it perfectly mimics a bait fish that is panicking, fleeing, short bursts, trying to get away, and that is the magic for this small square bill. These bass see this flash come right by them, and they can't not react to it. It is an extremely powerful tool. But not a lot of anglers throw these tiny little lures. Yes, it's kind of picked up in popularity a little bit with the BFS systems, but I'm not talking about those micro ones. But this is a 1.0 or 1.0, for example, and this is a perfect searching size, especially when you're on these bodies of water that just has angler after angler after angler pounding the shoreline, and they may be using more traditional power-sized offerings, your bigger spinnerbaits, crankbaits, those types of things. Or if they are using finesse presentations, they've probably automatically gone to like your Ned rigs, shaky heads, drop shots, these types of things. But that small square bill just is a great lure that fits into an area that so many others forget about. And then, of course, the cool thing about it is, one, you could just use this for hours. I've fished entire days and then fishing trips with these small square bills and catch a ton of bass. But you're always looking for that one to reveal themselves. So even if it's a 12-inch fish, just pounds this little 1.0, and then like, okay, there's probably something in this area that more bass are around. They're comfortable with whatever's here, whether, you know, we're talking water temp, cover, current, whatever it could be. But that little square bill got a bass to reveal themselves, and now you can go back and work it over with some of your other favorite presentations. And it is just a technique, just this search and then pick apart an area technique that just catches so many fish for me. If you look at these square bills here, I have literally wore out multiple small square bills because they get hit so often. It is such a fun way to fish. And then the interesting thing is I don't really have to change my gear. You know, maybe from a 7/6 cranking rod, I go down to a 7-foot, but I don't have to switch over to spinning gear for these small little baits. They still cast extremely well, and I personally am more accurate with a bait caster, so that is why I prefer to use casting equipment as much as I can. And then with these tiny square bills, it's just a good match for me. There's a lot of nice rods out there in the industry, in the fishing world, that will throw these tinier lures with ease. It works really well. Of course, you can use spinning gear with these, absolutely no problem, but it's not like you have to really change up what you're using to throw this smaller square bill. And hey, if you'd like to watch a video that shows how bass actually use wood and brush, go ahead and check this one out right here, and make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.